Hey there YouTube, Tim Judge here, and Saurian just released a new patch, and one of the first things that you see here is we have a new setting under advanced settings for day length, and that you can start at a given time of day. So you can set a month, a day, and an hour. So that's pretty cool. I think that'll integrate later when they implement things like seasons and stuff. And here I am. I actually spawned in a little bit earlier than this, but the new update really gave me a performance hit at my previous settings, which were just ultra. So I dropped down a few of the settings. I think I have it set here to very high with slightly lower shadow settings, but it still looks really good. Also, they seem to have updated the AI for your parents. In this playthrough, they stick together, and they actually managed to kill a Pachycephalosaurus that you're going to see them attacking soon. In previous playthroughs on the last version of the game, they would always split up, one of them would attack something and die almost immediately, and the only benefit I ever got out of either of my parents in the game was basically I got to eat their corpses after they stupidly attacked something. So here you can see them in the background. One of them is actually doing raptor prey restraint, or RPR, on a Pachycephalosaurus, so that's pretty cool. Later on they will actually kill it, and then I'll go eat it a little bit. So, this was a little confusing. When they spawned in, they killed a hatchling Dakota Raptor that I think was actually one of my siblings. So that might be a bug, or maybe it just wasn't, but I didn't see any other siblings following them around after I loaded back in, after dropping my settings a little bit. But I'm about to demonstrate another new feature of this version, right here. So now, hatchling and juvenile Dakota Raptors can climb trees. So that's pretty cool. They can also perch on branches, which I think I'll show you here. Yep. So there we go. So I can take a look. I can see my parents from up here, because I wasn't sure where they were. I noticed that they had killed a Pachycephalosaurus. So, of course, that's basically an all-day meal for a hatchling Dakota Raptor. And you can see I was just using one of the new modes in the game, bite mode. By default, it's hold right mouse button, and you get a zoomed-in look with some little three-point targeting reticle. And here I am going up the tree to check for any dangers. Because in addition to giving you a better vantage, it's also harder for other predators to attack you if you're up in a tree. And when you're a hatchling Dakota Raptor, basically everything can kill you. So you can get a 360 look when you're perched on a side branch like that, although you can't when you're on the tree. It looks like it restricts your camera movement to about 180 degrees. And there I saw an Acaroraptor that I didn't want to tangle with, so I stayed in the tree until it had gone by, and then it was back to the ground to eat a Pachycephalosaurus. Delicious. And back to eating the Pachycephalosaurus. And here I'd kill another hatchling, and I just wanted to do a little bit more demonstration with the bite mode, which you'll see here in a few seconds. One interesting thing that I've noticed is that if you have trot activated with Q, you go into bite mode, you will constantly start moving forward, which is what just happened there. That's why I kind of spun around. So for now, if you don't want to keep moving forward with bite mode active, make sure you toggle trot off so that you're set to walk. That is one slightly odd thing. Overall, I'm not sure if bite mode is all that useful, but I feel like maybe when I get this save to be an adult and I'm chasing after things like Pachycephalosaurus and Ornithomimus, maybe even Paleoxanoa, that maybe it'll be more useful. Hard to say. It was implemented as sort of an experiment, like to give you more precision with your bite attacks, because the game tracks where your bites hit, and if your bites hit someplace like under the throat or something else that's vulnerable, it will deal additional damage. So before, it was basically just luck of the draw as to where your hit actually landed. And so this is the dev's attempt to try to allow you to more easily target. Right, we get some nice new sunset effects. The renderer for this, or not the renderer, but the post-processing for nighttime has been tweaked a bit. Before, at sunrise and sunset, you'd get this weird sort of greenish tint to the moon and the sun, and the night also used to be much more blue. But now it's much less blue. It's still bluish, but I think it looks, again, like a big improvement over last time. Overall, the nighttime has gone through some major graphics overhauls. When the game first started, everything just looked absolutely terrible. It was really bad. But now it actually looks pretty good, I think. It looks like nighttime. Yeah. The last version I don't think looked bad, but it was weird to have the green sun and moon right at sunrise and sunset. But it looks like they fixed that, and I'd be happy with this. Here we see one of the new dinosaurs in the game. This is Ornithomimus, and you can also see that there's a T-Rex there who's just eaten an Ornithomimus. So, okay, so technically they're not necessarily Ornithomimus. As we'll see later, there's some debate as to whether the genus is Ornithomimus or Struthiomimus, but either way, they're both ornithomimids. And ornithomimids, the name actually means bird mimics, because they are very similar, extremely similar, to modern large ratites like emus or ostriches. They don't have any teeth in their beaked mouths. They have, they really have wings. And yeah, they're just really, really cool. So here I am eating an Ornithomimus that a T-Rex had killed and eaten some of. So I'm playing the scavenger here. And that's another thing that I find interesting, is that I don't remember a T-Rex abandoning a kill like this in earlier versions of the game. And it might just be that it hadn't typically killed something this large. But you'll actually see that I come back and eat this thing a couple of times. The T-Rex will come back, take another bite, I'll run off. And one interesting thing is that when a T-Rex is coming back, I can hide up in a tree. Whereas before, your only real escape from a T-Rex was just to try to run fast. Now, if you're far enough ahead, you can get up into the tree, and that'll be sufficient for you to escape. So it's going to be a little bit easier, I think, to survive as a hatchling or juvenile, because yeah, it was really, really tough before to survive as a hatchling or a juvenile when you couldn't jump anywhere. Couldn't escape. So it's very nice to have that as a new feature. And here we are back at the Ornithomimids. See them kind of wandering around. They seem to come in flocks. I think the smallest flock I've seen is 5, and I believe I've seen them go up to 7, but don't quote me on that. And here we have the new encyclopedia entry for the ornithomimid. Fast ostrich-like ornithomimid is a ubiquitous sight in the more open areas of the floodplain. While paleontologists have referred this animal as both a species of Ornithomimus and Struthiomimus, its true relationship remains unclear. With a top speed of over 50 km per hour, ornithomimids are the fastest animals in Hill Creek and among the fastest of all dinosaurs. Ornithomimids display a mostly herbivorous diet. However, ornithomimids will also take small animal food, such as lizards, mammals, and eggs. This was originally one of the options for voting for a playable character, and I believe that they're going to be adding life stages to Ornithomimus. Another interesting tidbit about Ornithomimus is that when the first Ornithomimid remains were found by Othniel Charles Marsh, rival of Cope in the infamous Bone Wars, and here I am running away from a T-Rex, he originally thought that it was an ornithopod. And if you look at the foot bones, it's easy to see why he would make that mistake, because all he had found was part of a hand and a foot. And Ornithomimus doesn't seem to have the dew claw that's more common on other theropods, which you can see in most of the theropods in the game, like T-Rex or Dakota Raptor, which is that first toe, the first on the inside as you're looking, which is just a tiny little claw sticking out. It's basically just vestigial. But Ornithomimus doesn't seem to have it, and additionally, the distal phalanges on the pes, the distal tarsal bones and such, or not tarsal, but yeah, phalanges. I can't anatomy today apparently. They're very blunt, whereas on other predatory or more specialized to be predatory theropods, they are recurved and they have little sharp points. So the toe claws on Ornithomimus was much more like you'd see on something like an emu. They're almost sort of hoof-like. And that's much more typical of an ornithopod dinosaur, such as a hadrosaur or an iguanodon. And here I'm coming up on some Triceratops. And one of the interesting things that's been added is that Triceratops now has 2 colors. So they added a skin for female Triceratops, which is a dusky brownish gray, and it's not nearly as visually striking as the male Triceratops. And only 1 male Triceratops spawns per herd, so we're getting a hint of the social interactions. And so there's actually some differentiation between the sexes of the dinosaurs, which I believe at this point the only dinosaur that you can reliably determine the sex of in-game is Triceratops. Which is somewhat ironic, since the first dinosaur that was positively identified for sex was actually a Tyrannosaurus, which was identified by Mary Schweitzer, who was doing osteology, and she found that the hollow of a Tyrannosaurus femur was filled with medullary bone, which is a bone that dinosaurs, including birds, lay down while gravid and creating eggshells, and it serves as a source of the calcium for the eggshell. Just a little history of dinosaur sexing for you there. Most dinosaurs aren't well preserved enough that medullary bone would preserve anyway. And the patch notes also said that there was a little bit of change to the ocean, and I think they basically just turned down the saturation. It used to be that the ocean water was really, really teal. So I want to show that off, and I'm also coming up to the Mosasaurs. So we got a Mosasaurus off in the distance. Mosasaurus, of course, largest known lizard ever to have lived. It is actually a true lizard related to monitor lizards like the Komodo dragon. And I just hadn't, I believe, ever filmed one or taken game footage of one. So I figured I would do that as a little end to this video. Well, I'm Tim Judge. Thanks for watching, and have fun being a dinosaur out in Hell Creek. Saurian is available on Steam. If you don't have it now, check it out.